focused on doing damage. It is primarily focused on being this pseudo poke champion. And if that falls behind, then suddenly you have a champion that's not really offering too much in the utility department. So a very unique counter pick, but one I'm very much excited to see.
Absolutely. I mean, certainly if they play this one fairly defensive in the bot lane, you'd much rather be a Janna or a Karma or a Lulu for that effect, right? You are built to do damage, to be annoying, and to be a real menace in that lane. So you're really hoping that that's exactly what Violet and Scott do. And it certainly has been their go-to. They are an aggressive bot lane. So you've already set that expectation up. Here we go then into game number 2. Team Bliss on match point in this best of 2. Looking to make it 3 wins now if they can secure the victory here tonight and outright be first place. As for Ion though, they would love a draw to keep themselves tied in first and to keep their momentum going.
Minions has spawned.
They absolutely would. I mean, a draw against a team like Bliss, especially after how they played game 1, would be a fantastic outcome, right? We saw a stable early game, but we saw it all fall apart after that as well. So to me, the most important thing as we're looking at this early game is how the bot lane plays, whether they're able to contest this priority, right? You can already see BioPanther kind of cheating onto Vision. He will get spotted here. Presumably is going to try to mess with Foreigner early on into this game. Already you can see why this Udyr is so annoying to play against as a jungler.
Yeah, he's so strong. I mean, really, I've got a direct quote here from BioPanther. I said, why don't we just lock in Udyr? It's a free win. And I say, yeah, level 1 Udyr shenanigans, how cool are they? Such a cheeky jungler. He says, I quote, oh yeah, he just does whatever he wants. He is just a mogger. Well, we'll see if that happens in this game as, yeah, it is already getting explosive in the bot lane with flashes. A flash handshake, what's going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure what Hexflash wanted to achieve there. I guess he wanted to try to force it all in when they had the wave pushing, but even then, you're not level 2, you're still level 1-to-1. The double sums were available for the side of Bliss, so he will end up just flashing forward and not really getting too much out of it.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a misread on that one, right? You'd love level 2, maybe a cheeky bailout proc to get that extra damage, to have that tower diving potential perhaps, but ultimately, burns it nice and early. And this time, does not have the luxury of a Hex Flash to use.
Yeah, and now this is where the lane gets really annoying for the side of Ion, right? They only got a 2-wave crash instead of a 3-wave crash, so they're not going to be able to actually reset here. They're going to be forced to kind of hand over the wave control to Team Bliss, and you can see that the jungler from Ion is actually pathing away from the bot lane. Potentially looking at mid here, but I don't think this is going to amount to much.
No, goes in for the twisted advance, look to try and take down Harry as Soul unbound, but Jovi says, I can't reach you, and Foreigner says, I've taken more damage than a deal, so I'm not too happy about that one. Meanwhile, Bio really is living their best life as an Udyr, proxying between 2 towers in the top lane, and I think really you've seen the destruction of Hexflash ruining bot lane, mid lane being a little bit doomed as well, and you're thinking, okay, this is not the early game that Iron were really hoping for.
Skimmy, look at the Udyr though, right? Foreigner lost a bunch of his HP there, and BioPanther has the ability to find him.
He certainly does. He goes in with the Tiger Stance, this is with the Phoenix Flames, and says, you aren't allowed to jungle, you can twist and advance to that one, but you're not getting any life back. Udyr is broken. That's not BioPanther, that's MogPanther.
Ladies and gentlemen, this Mog word is certainly getting a workout today, as we can see even more trading towards this bot side. But this is just purely bad decision making from the side of Ion, right? Foreigner goes needlessly tanks 2 turret shots when he knows his top lane doesn't have priority. BioPanther takes the red buff as well. He kills him on the red and then he takes the red buff. If I'm this Maokai, I just want to quit.
I'm done. I really have checked out of this game. We're only 4 minutes in. Absolute scenes here in game number 2. Really carrying a lot of that trajectory of power from game 1 into 2 and saying, look, you had your fun. You gave us a bit of a chance to get excited and figure out, okay, maybe there's more to you than we've seen, but look, we're going to assert dominance now, and we're going to see what can happen in this mid-late here. As a bit of an even trade actually takes place. We're both down to 20%.
Yeah, pretty volatile mid lane. Very similar to what we saw last game, rather. We saw both mid laners not really shying away from this trading, especially in the early game. As we can see, both junglers hovering early. But now it's a question of, you know, why not is actually still level 3, right? Doesn't have this massive CS lead. He is still sitting on that 24 as well. So by the time both junglers clear their jungles, it won't be too much of a disparity. The only annoying thing here is the tempo advantage that Team Bliss have, right? We saw that the Udyr was able to get that base off, able to come back with the played steel caps. He now controls this play. Because of the bot lane shenanigans early on in the game, now Team Bliss control this side of the map as well, and you can already see a Kalista who's already 14 CS down being forced off waves.
Yeah, you saw a cleanse actually be burnt from Violet as well. It was a nice handshake came across from Hexflash underneath the tower. It could have been maybe a stabilizing factor. You can always see a massive bot lane lead. Huge wave was crashed on in, and with the HP advantage as well. Nidalee, yes, he has double sums available, but he's going to be so careful.
And that's the thing, the second you're in a position where you can't go forward as this Kalista Renata, the lane becomes very hard, right? Because you lose all of your threat. Suddenly this Varus Way are able to play kind of without regard for what you can actually throw at them, and you're able to constantly shove waves under, constantly harass, and this Kalista simply won't be able to do anything now. Panther already 10 CS per minute, plated skill caps completed, and he's just proxying the enemy jungle. You know, why not?
He is really doing whatever he pleases, and with a jungler like why not, it really is that double pun on play on words. We go for that flash. Oh, that's beautiful from Jovi. It looked like he'd been completely caught in a 1v3, but a really nice ultimate to get out of harm's way in bot lane. What on earth has happened here? It looks so good for Bliss, but Nebula gets the kill.
I might have spoken too soon, Skimmy. As soon as we go off camera, everything goes right for Ion there. You can see Jovi perfectly buffering the Fate Seal there to get out of dodge, almost falling victim to the three-man collapse, but will only have to expend the ultimate, right? Still holds on to the flash, so not a bad situation at all. And then meanwhile on the bot lane, this Kalista, who is down a ridiculous amount of CS, is able to get a kill, able to somewhat equalize what was a pretty huge deficit.
And what's the most crazy for me is the HP differences looking at this one. You can only imagine Scott's really bitten off more than he can chew, really tried to force his hand. He's got no mana.
Oh,
he just gets hand shook underneath the tower. That's just a little bit too greedy, you'd have to say.
Yeah, it's just greed. He's trying to cancel the base there, ruin Nebula's tempo even more, but you should be happy with that, right? If the Kalista bases, you're able to push that wave in, you're able to crash and reset, and you still have an advantage. So just a little bit over-aggressive from Scott, but it's all right. Bliss will return to their ways of securing these dragons, securing this priority, and now the question is, how do Ion avoid this from being a repeat of last game, right? How do they avoid the macro just overwhelming them as this game progresses?
Well, it certainly has helped Nebula's life in the bot lane, rushing those tier 2 boots, making the champion feel just a little bit easier to try and pilot now, but will that be enough to even out what is already a monumental difference? We were already discussing it before, right down 30 CS. It's going to gradually improve for him, you'd have to imagine, but it's not going to stop Violet hitting him from a million miles away and saying, you're never even able to step up to the wave to begin getting those Ren stacks ready.
That's the thing, and it's not going to get any better, right? Foreign is on the top side of the map. He will clear down eventually, but as for now, the wave's in a pretty dire position as Violet takes 6.
He's looking for
X-Flash has to be so careful because there's no Kalista ult to save him right now.
Certainly is not. You know what it takes is one chain of corruption, layer that with Scott's ultimate if that's not too far away. He does still need a wave in a bit to try and achieve that one, but certainly there's potential for Violet to chuck out a rogue ultimate. And with the pressure and poking potential, you can really understand why Hui is so strong in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. Renata's good at all-inning, but you can't all-in if you're 20% HP to begin with, right? You are just going to get taken down before the fight even starts, and now Violet's at the point with Cleanse, with Flash available, he might just even want to pressure this turret, but Foreign is here.
See what happens in the bot lane. How goes the ultimate to try and lock in place everybody, but it's just going to get cleansed out of once again. There is the ultimate to disengage, spits across the Nebula, doesn't actually connect in the end. And even Foreigner's not safe from the harassment this two-man possesses. They are so strong, even they can send people back into 2v3.
Yeah, looking at the health bars, you wouldn't think that it was the Bliss bot lane that just got ganked, right? They burned the cleanse, yes, but ultimately Violet walks out very happy with that. Uses the Chain of Corruption to take Foreigner down as well. So now if you bring Wynot down, he has the HP advantage, he has the item advantage. As he's looking mid lane.
He certainly is. There's the ultimate. Beautiful buffer. This time there is no escape plan with that Fate Shield. But he still does survive. Flash being insurance. Nebula in trouble with the ultimate there. He's going to go for the self-cast. And he gets bailed out. He's going to fight his hardest to try and get a second onto Violet, but not enough for end stacks. Flash fall from the Varus. There is the rain of arrows. There is the piercing. And there is the double. Best case scenario for Bliss's bot lane.
Yeah, you lose Scott, but you give 2 kills into the hands of Violet. This Varus who's sitting on double the CS of a Kalista, 2 levels up as well. It's not his traditional hyper carry, but boy, with this gold lead, he's going to do that.
He certainly is. 2 kills, the only bounty in the game, and living in paradise. Let's run it back with the replay once again.
So, I mean, this is a nice play from Hexflash here. He tries to use his minute to get aggressive, misses the handshake, unfortunately, which means that Nebula has to commit. He knows that he'll just die regardless, so he may as well go forward and do as much damage as possible. The question for me is why Hexflash walks back up here, right? Maybe trying to get that loyalty program to come through and potentially shield the Kalista, but even then, it's just going to be another sacrifice, another donation to the Bank of Violet.
Certainly is the Bank of Violet right now. Those stocks are through the roof. Really a great time to invest in this bot lane because they are seeking potential and farming like you would not believe. Look at top, mid, and bot. All very much on point with the timers of looking to go for a CS per minute. It's great time to be in the Blitz camp. You can see the overall gold really favoring those members that we've just highlighted. 4,000 gold being the magic number, and we know that a Lethality Varus wants to snowball, much like a Callista, but only one can prevail.
Yeah, one's certainly doing a better job of snowballing than the other at this stage. And another thing I did want to point out is actually how well Bliss have been playing around this mid lane, right? Because the bot lane's already losing in isolation, as I might have to hold my tongue here.
Yeah, out goes the Nature's Grasp, looking to lock in place as many as they can, but they're going to focus their attention on towards, why not the Emperor's Divide? It looked for a second like that might just be enough, but the Stand Soul just try to tick down Jovi as he just limps away under the tower in the mid lane. But as you say, the mid lane has been a big focus, and these junglers have been putting on a bit of a clinic.
Yeah, finally Iron managed to find something that goes in their favor there, but that's the point I did want to raise, is the fact that the Yone, when the Callista is behind, kind of becomes your win con, right? He's the one you need to get ahead. But Bliss, up until that point, had been doing a really great job of actually harassing him, making sure that every time he has to use that Fate Shield, he has to use it defensively. That then enables Harry to actually play the lane incredibly aggressively because he doesn't have to worry about being all in by the Yone. And suddenly, there are no threats around the board that you really have to worry about. So it's a very nice play by Iron there to get a favorable 2v2 and get a little bit more gold back into the hands of this Yone.
Yes, no doubt they'll be rushing and hoping that they can get that Blade of the Ruin King complete as quickly as they can. That is the major spike, not only for the Yone, but also for the Callista. But easy said than done. He's just TP back to the lane. Why not pokes his head and says, I've got an ultimate ready. You've got no flash. But good situational awareness there. Make sure that Jovi just gets out and prevents that from happening.
He will manage to escape that one with no trade coming through, but crucially, Harry does have the Nash's Tooth completed. Jovi could be caught out.
He could have been. One that decides not to follow that one across the wall. Good awareness once again from himself too, as Iron bring up both their jungler and support to assist and help out. Dragon just about to spawn. Clear intention, and that is what Iron are playing for, but they've got to try and find some control in either bot or mid.
But this is a much better setup from the side of Iron, right? You can see that they've actually pushed the bolt wave in. Yes, they lose mid prior because of the earlier actions of Why Not. But because they have the first move onto this Dragon, they're able to stack the Ren Spears up. They're able to get a favorable smite. TP's committed though. This could be a 5v5.
Certainly could be. Failed field onto one. That is the target. And that's who they'll look to try and take on down. Why not looking to try and do as much as he can, but he cannot survive that amount of pressure when everybody comes knocking on your door. But in rocks up Udyr. Biotype just a little bit too strong, showcasing that, look, I can do it in the top lane, but I can do it when I'm grouped up with a team. They'll end up saying, well, it's going to be a 1-for-1. Both the junglers being the casualty here, but everybody deciding to converge on mid.
Yeah, overall a very even play, right? Both top laners committing to teleport, both teams losing their jungler as well, but ultimately the deciding factor is the Dragon, and that goes into the hands of Foreigner. So overall a nice play. They get the setup this time, and that was the thing that was missing from the previous game, right? They always were on the back foot, walking into the hands of Bliss when they wanted to get to objectives. So to see them get there first, to see them get there to set up, is a refreshing change.
Certainly is. Worth noting as well, whilst we haven't talked about it too much this game, 6 stacks of the Void Grubs are picked up by Bliss this time. Hence why you've seen Vada do so much damage to this tower. It's ticking down to the true damage of that dot. And those Void Mites are certainly assisting, as you can see them spawning on your screen right there now. So just before those plates fall on down, in about another 20 seconds, they're going to do whatever they can to try and push this one in and get all that gold to further their lead. I mean, look at this. Mid and bot, absolute field day.
Yeah, bot is so far ahead. They're not even in the same stratosphere. You can already see the support item coming through for the likes of Spot as well, as this damage is just laughable, really. There's no window where the bot lane from Iron can actually walk up without taking a ridiculous amount of poke unless their jungler's there. And even then, it's a Leandri's Maokai, right? This guy is very squishy in his own right, not going to be able to stand up to the likes of this Varus. As we take a look at again, Skimmy, you can see that Nebula has a better position. They use the Maokai ult defensively to enable themselves to get the Dragon. And it's a one-man Yone ulti, so yes, you get this trade, but Foreigner in the meantime is absolutely in no man's land.
He certainly is, and unfortunately for him, his job was to secure the Dragon and then just try and bait a little bit of attention elsewhere. Ultimately, it does mean that Violet didn't really participate in that fight because he was better off fighting that one there, but it's looking like a game where a soul point isn't going to be that much of a deciding factor. Blade of the Ruin King, though, has now finally been completed by Nebula. We hope that Jovi wouldn't be too far away, and that might be their best time to try and fight before this gold lead balloons out of control.
Yeah, absolutely, and there's always the issue of scaling as well when you are playing into an Azir Varus, right? Just the pure poke that they're going to be able to put out will be huge, so especially on this Blade of the Ruin King timer with the Rift Herald being alive as well, you can see Bard's down towards this bot lane, getting this turret. He can continue pushing, to be honest. There's no one able to answer him, but he might want to walk up, he might want to contest this Rift Herald.
certainly might, and that's exactly what they're looking to try and do right now. Jovi jumps in with the rest of the crew and says, as a four-man contingency war guaranteed, this at least works in our favor. You can see that Biopanther and Doraemon are fighting their own fight in a 1v1 topside. It's the unending despair. That is the way Ultimate comes out to play. You don't really find too much success on this occasion. Doesn't really matter though, as one goes in aggressively. But look at Violet, he's found them all. 3 members chained together with that corruption, but it's not looking like a fight that Bliss are winning to candidly right now. It's a 1-for-1 so far. Both junglers are dead. The Herald down at 20% and no smite in sight. And Jovi jumps in with a 2-man dash, but he's not found enough damage. The rest of his team are on the disengage. This is when Bliss are thinking, we're so strong, we're so patient that we can dash in here with the Ember Divide and take apart anything.
It looked even at the start there, Skimmy. Jovi was able to find a lot of work, a lot of value, taking out Why Not once again, who really hasn't been having the impact that he wants to, but it's just Violet again, untouched. You can see the amount of poke that this Way and Varus are able to put out before the fight even starts. Foreigner is completely removed from the picture, and without this decisive engage coming through, they just get whittled down. As we take a look once again, right, you can see the initial ultimate from Scott not finding too much value, but it's the subsequent poke that arrives once this Varus pulls up to the scene that is really the problem here. The topside fight does go in the favor of Ion, but look at this Maokai, unable to move, unable to do absolutely anything, just poked down by this Varus, and after that there's no damage left.
Yeah, I mean, it really has been the case for these last few fights, right? The ultimate goes out, and that really has been job well done. There is no twist and advance, there is no lockdown with the Bramble Smash afterwards, and it makes it quite awkward, really, for the likes of Jovi and Nebula stepping aggressively when their real main engagement, their tanks, aren't able to participate there. So, not a fight they'll be too happy with, but one that Team Bliss will be living in luxury land with, right? Now up by 5,000 gold. This was our concern. 2k was the deficit before. We were saying Blade of the Ruin King spikes would be massive, but they've only come on now. And they may have just missed that window in which they can try and fight on an even footing.
Yeah, look at the CS gaps in all of these carrier roles, right? You can see Varus is up 50 CS. Azir is up 35 CS. It is an absolute bloodbath in these carry roles. So you can see Team Bliss here. Yes, they're giving up control towards this dragon, but they don't care. It's a Cloud Dragon. They'd much rather attack this top side of the map. They have the Herald in the hands of Why Not. He's going to get up there. They're going to use this to expand the gold lead even further.
And this is sort of what we're asking for and really hoping for in Game 1 from Iron, right? When they had this sort of same setup and conditions of playing around these Void Grubs. This is what we wanted. You've got this ability to siege and strongly assert control. Sure, let Iron have that freebie dragon. You don't really care because it's never going to reach that soul point anyway. This turret is gone, and you'd imagine they're going to put pressure towards that inhibitor too.
Look how many grubs there are. That's like a whole army that they've got there summoned. I wonder if they are going to take this second charge as well. Whether Why Not feels like he wants to get into it. They do have the Sundisk available, but he's going to opt to give it away. I mean, even then, that's over half that HP gone on that tier 3 turret. Yes, you lose a Cloud Drag, but like you mentioned earlier, this game isn't really progressing to the point where a soul is going to be necessary. With the rate that these items are getting bought from these carries, you'd imagine that a Baron into a game end is a much more likely outcome. So the question becomes now, what can Ion do to actually bring this back? They need to get this Yone onto the carries, but to do that, they've got to make sure a Cassante or a Maokai is making space for him.
Absolutely, and that has been the thing that's been missing from the setup of these fights previously, right? So you're really hoping they can find some success going forward. And I think their next prime opportunity would be the Baron. You take a quick stock check at the scoreboard, you're thinking, okay, only person with 2 items complete would be Harry with that Nashes into Leandries. Maybe we can force a fight now before the rest of the team follows suit as well. As Violet, that is killed number 6. This Varus really is putting in a hard day's work right now as they invade and they take full control. We've got 4 turrets. We own the Rift.
They've got 4 turrets, Skimmy. It's about to be 5 as well with the rate that they're pushing at this turret. You can see all 5 members hitting that turret spawn so many Void Grubs as well to be able to take that out. And this Varus, it's just so hard to stand against him in a lane, right? With this Jovi being down as well, you lose a lot of your engage rate, you lose a lot of your damage. He's up in 5 seconds, though, and he does have a TP. I wouldn't put a desperation play past the likes of Ion.
This is awkward for Foreigner. He's completely on vision, threatening a flank, but they know exactly where he is. That TP is coming in a little bit too late. You're another one on the sort of dinner table to try and take down as well. And ultimately, it's a very disjointed fight. Yes, you're going for the 3-man fate steal, but can your team back you up? That is the question. This might be the fight that sets the tone for the rest of this series, as Jovi will fall on down. Hex flashes low. Doraemon trying to fight a fight on his own with 3 members surrounding him, and Biopanther, you can't get past him. He's a titan, a gatekeeper. You want the Varus, you've got to get through him first, and it is just impossible with the ace.
The fact that Jovi plays that as well as he does, and it's still a 5-0 ace, really speaks to the state of this game and how dire it is, right? You can see they're thinking about the flank, but they don't commit immediately. And like you said, Foreigner's kind of caught off in this awkward position here. You can see without the TP coming through, this is just a Maokai who's alone by himself, right? He shows on vision a little bit too early, and then the TP comes in really late, right? You should just sell this Maokai here. But then suddenly this Yone is kind of baiting the rest of his team in, right? They feel like, oh, look, he's landing these really nice ultimates. But ultimately, if you're not getting any kills off the back of it, what does it actually amount to?
You're thinking for a second there with the ultimate coming on through, very knocked up, you're thinking surely hostile takeover. It's a field day for somebody like a Kalista, but it just was not enough. And to your point, this is literally the matchup you're talking about. Can a Kalista kill a Nudia? The answer really is no.
He's like autoing him probably 50 times, I reckon. You could allow him to auto attack and he still wouldn't even come close to killing him. It's just the power of these tank items and with how cheap they are as well, right? Like a 2,400 gold Frozen Heart is just ridiculous. It makes this Kalista's life so hard. Someone else whose life might be a little bit hard now is Doraemon, but luckily I think he's learned his lesson from last game.
They've caught Nebula though. He's got Flash and Cleanse, but they decide to burn it. No! Flashing out of that one. Chain of Corruption coming in just on the tail end as well. As the Empress Divide was burnt to try and really force their hand. But this is good, because Bliss once again are in a position of strength. They were sieging before, now they got a Baron. Even easier now to try and set that one up. Harry does have Flash, and certainly will use it as he dashes out afterwards. So no connection on that one. They baited all that time and said thank you so much for the 3BM bot lane.
Yeah, all that time and Bliss will just take the free inhibitor. Ion's team comp suffers so much from a lack of wave there, especially with this Baron coming through. As Doraemon's looking like he wants something here.
Yeah, he wants to try and get onto Violet, but it's easier said than done. So they turn their attention instead of trying to get Scott, and they will find him successfully on the flank. Is Jovi taking his 1v1? He's missed the ult point blank onto Harry. Will he win the 1v1? He will not. As Varus stands his ground, that is number 9 on the kills. And look at Bio. Nobody can touch him. His HP does not move. He is the king.
He is the king, and Team Bliss are looking to crown themselves alone at the top of the scoreboard after this victory here. Just an absolute demolition of Team Ion. It wasn't close at any point. They ran over them. Violet sitting 10-0-3 on this Varus. Udia also untouched. There's only 2 members of Bliss who actually died at all this game, and they will assert themselves in sole position of first place.